This season, be scared. Be very scared. The robots are back, taking control of your television set. Humanoid super-intelligent robot Andromeda. The cyborg, not so super-intelligent Cybermen. When these soulless horrors first scared us in the 1960s, we were promised their more helpful cousins would come soon after.
It could be sold to every family in the world for about the same cost as a family car.
The big screen told us the future was bright, the future was robotic. C-3PO was fluent in 6 million forms of communication, but in reality, robots couldn't make it upstairs. Disappointment reigned. Our patience ran low, the fascination faded. Now both the Cybermen and Andromeda are back on our screens, but what about their counterparts? In 2006, are dreams of robot slaves and companions futile? Or are we on the cusp of the true robot age? Is there still artificial life in the Machine Man yet?
Welcome to Machine Man.
An ex-Ministry of Defence site in Surrey. Amidst the radiation signs and blast doors, a terrifying robot is about to be born. An idea first mooted in the 60s is becoming a 2006 reality.
246, take 7 pickup.
Andromeda, a super-intelligent biological robot with the star of a piece of classic 60s science fiction. And now, A for Andromeda has been remade by the BBC. It's a familiar story. Boy scientist falls for girl scientist who then gets killed by alien supercomputer and then is resurrected as a beautiful robot merging man and machine. Typical aliens, disguising their robot as an attractive woman.
A for Andromeda has an awful lot of ingredients that seem to resonate with people, and over the decades it's never really lost its popularity, and we love to be scared and we love to fear the future. It's a nice sort of hook to use in science fiction writing.
Robots are an archetype which allow us to portray kind of pure intelligence without the ability to differentiate between good and bad, and consequently, they often dramatically appear to be in a kind of moral vacuum.
It's no accident that the BBC is returning to a robot story like A for Andromeda. The corporation was the birthplace for robots on television.
What is it, Berman?
What happened? Read that. What is it?
A leaflet.
Millions of copies. The robots are distributing them everywhere.
In 1938, barely a TV set existed, but the BBC screened Rossum's Universal Robots by Czech writer Karel Čapek. The play gave a new word to the English language, the Czech word for slave, robota. Robots were born.
There are two loan words from Czech in English. Robot is one, pistol is the other, which perhaps says something about the culture of a country which was known for its weapons manufacturing.
Robots throughout the world, we, the first national organization of Rossum's Universal Robots, proclaim man as our enemy. Good heavens, says that they're more highly developed than man? Why, it's absurd.
Read the third paragraph.
Robots throughout the world, we command you to murder mankind. To murder mankind.
It's about a sort of workers' revolt in the future by artificially created humanoid workers.
I think it's a brilliant idea, the robot, Rossum's Universal Robots, in the sense that at the end of the day, it asks the question, what would a world without people be like that's only populated by robots? It was a clever idea.
Karel Čapek's work was an interesting read and set my imagination running. But when I was a youngster, robots in those days were very much, and unfortunately still are sometimes, the metal Mickey type of monolithic android type of robot that you wouldn't want to bump into on on a dark night.
Iron men have attacked Flash and the others at the mine.
Iron men? You mean robots? Mechanical men?
They seem to be.
Flash, what are those awful creatures?
I never saw anything like them. They must be from another planet. They're not human, Dale. They're mechanical.
Science fiction's passionate love affair with the robot has never dimmed. By the 50s, robots were a staple of the genre, and countless B-movies.
But he's a robot. Without you, what could he do?
There's no limit to what he could do. He could destroy the Earth.
Good work, Paul. Now destroy them. Release them, Borg. Danger grows with every minute. Let's get Santa Claus and blast off. But for now...
Most robots were just clunky villains. One man changed this. In his robotic crystal ball, writer Isaac Asimov saw robots as helpers, friends, and even sweethearts.
Might not the intelligent machine feel a warmth for humanity, a feeling of responsibility? Could he feel gratitude for his own existence? It would have been man, after all, that had created him. Could he not take measures to ensure man's well-being, not because we command him to, but because he wants to?
Isaac Asimov's robot stories, which come out of a science fiction magazine tradition, I suppose they're kind of written as an answer to the cliche robots, the rebel robot, the Frankenstein robot, the trundling robots in Flash Gordon or whatever. And that's why he conceives of robots firstly as labor-saving devices, as machines. He thinks of what they could be used for.
In Asimov's 1951 short story, Satisfaction Guaranteed, a humanoid robot is used as a lover. In this BBC dramatisation, the robot looks perfectly human, which saved on special effects.
Domestic robots aren't as yet permitted by law, though of course they soon will be. So you see, nobody must know about Tony. I mean that he's a robot.
Tony?
If you were taken in, Mrs. Belmont, then other people will be.
Oh, Larry. I don't know why you and your friends are doing this. Is it some sort of joke?
If you think Tony is human, then try and feel his pulse.
No.
Go on, try.
Oh, no. Stop.
Tony, will you give Mrs. Belmont your wrist?
Asimov wasn't the only enlightened thinker about robots. In Britain, another writer was dreaming up his own future worlds. Brian Aldiss. For over half a century, Aldiss has shared with us his fascination for other planets and artificial life.
There's a time when it's very good to write about something in the future, and that is when it seems as though it's near, but it hasn't quite happened, but people are talking about it.
Brian Aldiss wrote the android story that decades later would become Steven Spielberg's AI.
I wanted to tell a story that would be touching and moving about a small boy whose mother didn't love him.
But in this case, the small boy is a robot designed to replace a real son.
The child is programmed, A, to think of himself as a real child, and B, to love his mother.
But his mother rejects him because to her, a robot is not real. Science fiction's robots had already evolved to equal mankind, yet the first actual robots were somewhat lower down the evolutionary ladder. Tortoises.